Frak, this podcast, come and listen to us talk about Battlestar Galactica. It's a show that we're talking about.
Don't have a lot to say about this episode, so
Yeah, it's fine.
if you want to be fast, you can. I'm kind of gonna shrug my way through most of this.
I mean, this is a very plot-heavy episode, so there's not a lot of like ideas and themes to talk about. There's a couple things too, but not a ton. Ready?
Yeah. See, you call it plot heavy. I would just call it noisy.
Call it what you will. Hello, interwebs, and welcome to the Frak, this podcast. I am your sleepy host, Jesse Gender, and I'm joined as always by, I definitely used that one before, but I am earnestly sleepy, and I can't think of another word, so how are you, Vera?
It's good. Hey, folks, it's Vera. See, here's the thing. I'm not going to tell you whether or not you have. You have absolutely used synonyms for that.
I almost said exhausted, so I was like, I think I used that. I feel I used exhausted more than I've used sleepy, so we'll see.
But yes, you've definitely expressed that sentiment.
Well, today I'm running on like 4 hours of sleep right now because I was up late last night recording the first episode of the Casty Kings podcast, the House of the Dragon podcast that I'm on, which is fine. I don't mind being up late, but then I had to be up at 8 o'clock this morning and drop my car off at my mechanic, so I'm dead. I am very dead.
You sound like me in 2021. Like I really did just load the hell out of my schedule.
Yeah, no, it's I've become like just an overall podcaster. I'm doing 4 podcasts at the moment, so I'm slowly dying. Thankfully, one of them is only temporary, and the other one's only bi-weekly. So it's Star Trek and this are the two that are my all the time podcasts, but it is just a doing a lot sort of thing.
You don't even have to edit this one, so
no, in fact I don't have to. There's only one of them, 2 of them I guess I have to edit, but one's really easy. So
yeah, bite me.
Yeah. I appreciate you. I appreciate your editing. How are you doing, Vera? Anything new this week for you?
Other than just the headache of being reminded why I hate fandoms. No, not really.
Yeah. I had a good week. My birthday week was this past week, so that was good.
How was your birthday?
It was good. So I'm having like an official party this weekend because my friends weren't available during my actual birthday week because they're terrible friends. But I did for my birthday week is I did the nerd night talk, which went really well. I had friends come to that, and friends brought me like gifts and some cupcakes to that, which is really nice. And that went really, really well. People seem to really like it. I'm gonna get a copy of the recording of it, so I might be able to post it somewhere. But I presumably, like they said, it was one of their most packed and most engaged audiences, so I was very pleased with how that went. And then on my birthday proper, we went to Disneyland's Pride Night, which I'm surprised they're still doing. I was actually kind of shocked that they still were doing the thing, and it was a really fun time. I got to go on a bunch of rides. There was I just basically went on a bunch of rides with my partner. The only thing that pissed me, and also they had rainbow like themed food, which was delicious. And I also got drunk too, which was a lot of fun. Because they have a Star Wars bar that we got in, and we managed to get some drinks there, and that was a really good time. But with Lindsay Ellis, by the way, it was Lindsay Ellis. She was one of the people that came with me to Disneyland, and Lindsay does not give a fuck about Star Wars. So I'm like in the Star Wars bar being like, "Ooh, that's Rex. He's the original droid from Star Tours back in and she's like, "Uh-huh. I don't give a shit." She did not give any crap, so it was very funny. She was just there because she likes Disney stuff. But anyway,
I feel like that's a classic experience for mega nerds. Just hang out with other nerds, but out nerding them about the stuff they're not nerds about.
Yeah, exactly. Like she would tell me a lot about the Disney stuff and how Pride Night worked and all these things. I'm like, oh, that's really interesting. Do you want to know about Rex, the Star Tours droid? Uh,
Can I tell you about Dexter Jetster?
yeah, right. Exactly. To her credit though, she did get me for my birthday gift. She got me a Rex mug because Rex is like the DJ now in the Star Wars bar,
That's
and
cute.
yeah, they made him the DJ because they don't have him in Star Tours anymore. And there's like a souvenir mug that they give out. So she bought me the souvenir mug, which was really nice. And the waiter, she recognized it was my origin day. So she said "Happy Origin Day" to me, which is a very good.
Eh.
And I didn't even let her know that. It was very fun. So, anyways, that was all fun. The only negative that I was pissed about was because it was Pride Night, it was like the after hours Disney thing. And so they were closing some rides early. We got in at 6, and they have my favorite ride there, which is the Star Wars Rise of the Resistance ride. It's their best one. It's really good. They were going to close it at 7. So we got in line right for it, right at 6. We went right there, got in line, and we're going to ride the ride. Right before we were going to get onto like the ride proper part, it broke down, quote unquote, right at 7. And I'm like, did it really break down? Did it really break down? Or are you just closing it at 7 and said it broke down? So it was very upsetting. So alas.
I am sorry. For the record, I do have stuff I'm sending you for your birthday, but I have been both. Well, I say both. I'm about to list three things. Overworked, exhausted, and broke. So,
Understandable, understandable, and understandable, but still, you're a bad friend. So
yes, I know. I'm
love
aware.
you. Love you, Vera. Well, now
I
I
mean, like,
know.
I could just give you a one free month of my OnlyFans and call it a day.
Again, bad friend. I would take that. I would take that willingly. Well,
Hey,
now
happy birthday. Here's my junk.
I can get that for free on Pornhub. Damn it. Uh,
Not nearly as much.
yeah, true enough. Well,
Daily uploads, bitch. Daily.
uh-huh. Well, now that I'm looking at you, at least I can see my face of my enemy. And speaking of which, we're talking about the webisode face of the enemy comment section from 2 weeks ago. Starting off with 255 AD, they had a comment that said, I can't help but feel opting to make Gata queer is the most cowardly choice, given he's the least conventionally masculine of all the male leads. Like revealing that someone like Ty or Hilo had male partners would have been braver since it would have pissed off a lot of fans.
I mean, I don't think like I'm not gonna say that 255 is wrong
Hmm.
about that. I just think that that's be and like look, I have no desire to give Ronald D. Moore much leeway at all, but like I feel like that's an unfair characterization given the time that the thing went out. Like
Hmm.
not wrong, but a little harsh.
Yeah, yeah. We also have a local. Well, there's two comments that were very similar to each other. One was local Harthian 2387 says, Vera, blink twice if you want to get off Ronald D. Moore's wild ride. And we have Sarah, the fat culture critic, our mutual friend, said, is this a hostage situation? Quick, Vera, blink twice if you're being held against your will by a Jesse-shaped demon with a completionism kink. So a lot of blinking you need to do, I assume.
Yep.
So many blinks. I see so many
Hmm.
blinks happening. Uh, and then we have where was this other one right here?
I do like considering your completionism to be a kink. I think it actually makes it parse a hell of a lot more in my head than trying to understand it any other way.
I mean, yeah, it kind of works. It kind of works. I do have that. Uh, let's see. The Romler says the reason for doing this story was to stop Baltar's whisper to Gata from being a loose end after they dropped the whole storyline it was supposed to tie into, which was the entire story of the Woman King was also supposed to be part of, which is why it feels so weirdly disconnected. The original idea was to have the innocent Cylon be a 6, playing on the audience inclination to be more suspicious of them, so the 8 being the killer would be more of a surprise, but then Trisha Helfer wasn't available and there wasn't time to get any other actors for it.
Ah,
Hmm.
okay.
Yeah, interesting. And then last one that I wanted to look at is Super Laser Seth said, I recall heavy fan speculation at the time that Gaeta was closeted gay slash bi, largely centering around whether his admiration of Baltar was a full-on crush or just hero or worship from season one. My read is more that they put this in the webisodes more because it was directly playing to an internet fan theory that then because of any actual bigotry, he and that fans who cared slash were aware of this were mostly the target audience for the webisodes. Anyways, and I will say that I don't recall the main series making Gaeta's sexuality explicit at any point, but there's definitely a major storyline where knowing that changes Gaeta's motivation dramatically, not necessarily for the better, but it's blatantly relevant. So,
Okay.
yeah, we shall see.
I think, circling back onto what 255 said, I think people can get overzealous in trying to police like, oh, what, stereotypical, it's the least masculine man. I'm like, okay,
Mm.
yeah, but gay vibes are a thing that exist.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, not everyone who gives off gay vibes is gay. Not everyone who is gay gives off gay vibes, but they are a thing. So, like,
Yes.
trying to plan your storylines for characters and who's going to be what based solely off not playing into them is a very ass backwards way of trying to tell a story.
Yes, I definitely agree. It's like I get it if you don't want you want to avoid like sort of stereotypes of queerness, but like Gaeta doesn't come off as like a gay stereotype. You know what I mean? Like,
No, he
yes,
does.
maybe the least traditionally masculine of the characters you could have picked, but like certainly not like a stereotypical character. You know what I mean?
No, not at all.
It's not
So,
like I just watched I'm watching X-Files for the first time right now. I'm in season 7 and I got to the episode that was a crossover with Cops, which problematic on its own thing. Cops can go fuck itself as a show.
yeah.
And cops themselves, generally speaking, can also go fuck themselves. But the episode is fun in its own way, except for there are two gay characters who they go to the house of, and they are the most stereotypically flamboyant, like gay black men I have ever. Oh yeah, like oh, it's time for my like. They see that they're on cups, like oh, I need to get on my my face and like that whole thing. It's like I'm ready for my close up, like very stereotypical queer characters. Like at the time there wasn't a ton of gay representation on TV, but I was like, woof, this is definitely in all the stereotypes.
Like, my first thought is Mel Brooks did that in The Producers in the original film version in the 60s. I don't care if there isn't a lot of representation. If it's 30 years later, you could do better than that.
Yeah. The only positive I will say about it is that they are the only two characters who get affected by the monster of the episode who do not die, so they don't do a bury your gaze, and it is implied to be because they, care for each other and help each other. So at least there's like not a bury your gaze thing going on there and kind of subverting that trope, but still with two very stereotypical characters. So,
Small favors, I
yeah.
suppose.
Yeah. Anyways, cops have to take an oath to protect and serve. I don't know why I become Patrick Warburton a little bit here in my cadence, but it's fine. We're talking about the episode The Oath today.
Cops don't do that, actually. They don't take an oath to protect and serve. That
Hmm.
is literally just a slogan. It's marketing, it's PR.
Huh.
Don't believe it.
Huh. Well, more reason to say fuck them. Not that I needed more, but fuck them. Yes, we are talking about The Oath today. So let us get into our recap. This episode is not told in real time, but it does repeatedly throughout the episode just to note give us like 0600 hours, like 0732 hours, like to sort of give a sense of how long this
Which,
takes place
like,
over.
I kept it was point it God, it felt like they were trying to be 24 for a hot minute. I don't know why. I mean, I know why it was meant to, like, I guess supposedly like raise the tension because of how fast it was happening, or like, oh, we jumped ahead a little bit. What's going on? But like, it doesn't add anything that the show doesn't just do.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing it adds, I guess, is it gives a sense of this is all happening like really quickly. Like this is this sort of coup slash mutiny event is something that like, it happens very, very quick. And I appreciate that. Like without the time on it, you may not have gotten the sense that like this could have been because Galactica jumps all the time in time and space. Like it could be hours, it could be days between scenes sometimes. And here at least you get a sense like it's okay, it's only been 30 minutes or 20 minutes or 5 minutes or something like that. So I mean, I think it adds a little bit. I mean, not a ton, but not it's not completely useless, I guess would be my argument.
I disagree. I think it's completely useless.
I think let me put it this way. It adds enough that like it's worth having paid the editor the like extra $5 that they or like whatever 30 minutes they had to do it. You know what I mean? If it was a
No,
whole
I
to
think
do.
that I think they should have just paid him that, but not asked him to do it anyway.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Works. It's fine for me. Anyways, we start off the episode in Adama's quarters. Ty comes in. There's this little bit that kind of comes up a few times from the episode about like, do you want a cup of coffee? And they turns out they grind it out of algae, so it tastes like shit. So Ty doesn't want any. We learn that there are 3 more ships that are refusing to let Cylons on board. They're screaming about illegally being seized by Marines. Adama says go to Lee. If they don't get the ships in line, you can tell them they can share a blanket in Zarek's cell. So he's again being sort of authoritarian on that aspect of things. And then as they're talking, Rosling comes out from the back and Ty is, thrown for a loop for a hot second because he didn't realize that they were fucking in Adama's quarters, and Adama treats it very casually. Sort of saying you were saying, and Ty sort of just says, well, given the fleet's mood toward the Cylons, you probably don't want me taking point on this. So Adama says he'll be up in a minute.
Most interesting thing about this, Ty having to note that it just kind of shows you how much Bill has basically stopped
Given a
thinking
ship.
of Ty as a Cylon.
Mm.
He's just slipped back into the old way of doing things. Like, oh, you handle it. And he has to be like, I don't think they'll want to hear that from me.
Yeah, yeah. It kind of speaks to his state of mind recently, which is like I've stopped like caring too deeply, and also the comfortable patterns of just seeing Ty as his friend sort of thing. So
Yep.
um, we then cut to Zarek in his cell, and Gata comes in to get him out and sort of breaks him out. He sort of knows the guards and, is helping him around. And as they sort of walking through the corridors, as he's leading him to the Raptor Bay, Gata starts rubbing his amputated limb. His leg is still in pain. There's a beat with that. And they start talking about, like, the problem is still the quorum. And Zarek says, well, I can isolate them for a few hours, and that'll sort of help. They, he's Gata says, well, you should push Lee's buttons. I hear you're good at that. Zarek says that he can sort of get their reality will trump their sense of duty, except for with one, meaning Lee. So, yep. So
Yep.
they have a plan to sort of start getting the quorum on their side and having to
So,
deal with
like,
Lee.
I'm just going to warn people right now. I feel like I'm just going to be going, yep, that is what happened through most of this because I just like there's some things I definitely have thoughts on, but a lot of this I'm just like, okay.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair for me, I mean, I know you're more out on the show for me, but I don't think there's a few things that I do have thoughts on as well, but for the most part, this is just a very like we're doing a lot of plot stuff and a lot of like action things are happening, which not a lot I can to dig into theme wise. So there's a few
Yeah.
things, but not a ton. Um, Back in Adama's quarters, Roslyn and Adama are talking, and Roslyn sort of talking things out like, the fleet's never going to get comfortable with the silent amnesty. Lee on the quorum will, if you have him do this, you'll know the quorum will know that this comes from you, Adama. And I was like, well, he can handle it. And Rosin says, well, I'm not getting involved. Lee can take care of himself. You can take care of yourselves. I'm not getting pulled back in. And Adama sort of just looks at her and she sort of says, the legendary Adama stare. I can see right through it. Your passive aggressive pretense. And Adama's like, I don't do passive aggressive. And she's like, yes, you do. You just don't know that's what it is. She says, get some rest. and they, they play like have a little like affectionate sort of domestic play where she's like, "Oh, well, I'll have supper ready when you get home," that sort of thing. I'll be in time for home in time for supper. And as Adama walks out, Rosalind sort of yells after him like, "Oh, tell Lee if he can get to Contrell, he can manipulate him, sort of giving political advice." But then she sort of hesitates. Nope, I'm not getting involved. And Adama smiles.
So here's a question, and I know what the actual answer is, but in universe, why the fuck hasn't she resigned?
They said that last episode. That was a point last episode. You don't remember that?
No.
So the point that was made
I
last
don't
episode.
I don't I legitimately do not remember what happened in the last episode at all, other than Gata meeting with Zarek at the very end.
Well, no, that was actually a point of last episode where I believe, Adama says, "Well, you need to become the president, you need to get back into your office." And she says, "Well, then you'll have my resignation." And he says, "You can't do that because that would be just giving the presidency to Zarek." And she says, "Okay, well, you'll have to just live with the status quo then of me not getting involved." So it was addressed last
Oh,
episode.
that's right. Ah, God. Look, it's fucking it's stupid. And it's stupid on its face, and it's stupid for its unexplored aspects, which I'm gonna go off on later. Because, spoiler, this entire fucking episode treats Zarek as de facto villain
Mm-hmm.
without justifying that take. It takes it as a given that Zarek is a bad guy and is wrong. And I think that was part of why I blocked out that fucking exchange because it again assumed a base level and like fair coming from Adama and Rosalind. I get why they think that way. But the narrative treats it like that too. And there's just something, I don't know. I think between my having forgotten that scene happened, because that's how checked out I am with this fucking show at this point, but also in addition to that, just like, I think there's something personally infuriating, probably exacerbated by the world in which we live, of someone in a position of power not doing the fucking job, but also not leaving the position. I
Mm-hmm.
think I think that honestly just kind of hit a button for some reason.
Yeah, fair, absolutely fair. Um, I will push back that I think. Well, I'll get there when we get there. We then have Gata Zarek on the flight deck. One mutineer pilot pretends that they have a fuel leak to get the deck clear so they can bring Zarek in. Then, as they're about to lead Zarek off, so he can go back to Colonial One,
It's
Li-
racetrack, isn't it?
yeah, Racetrack is the pilot,
Yeah.
yes. Laird comes up. Laird
Mm-hmm.
is the civilian who was forcibly drafted to work on the Pegasus way, way back. Um, and Gata tries to, and like Laird starts trying to question them. Gata tries to give cover of like, "Oh, Adama approved this. He thinks Zarek may have a life attempt on his life, so we're taking him to Colonial One." Laird goes to confirm this, and Zarek goes to knock him out, but it is presumed kills him when doing so. When it hits him with a wrench.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, Gata is not happy about this, but Zarek sort of justifies like he won't be, and Zarek doesn't seem super pleased that he's dead, but he says he won't be the last. I know a little bit about revolutions. Success doesn't hinge on some idea of the will of the people. It's on cumulative motions, and it can be lost at a moment's hesitation. And basically, sort of saying like, are you going to follow through on this, Gata? And Gata says, I started this, and I'll see it through. Get on that ship. And sort of Gata is pissed at Zarek for this.
Hey everybody, remember that interesting little side character we introduced ages ago and never did anything with? Hey, he's back. Oh, he's dead.
Yeah, he's shown up here and there, but certainly they never
This
did
is the
anything
first
with
time
him.
he's been highlighted in fucking ages, and it's so they can kill him.
Mm-hmm.
And I know what they're doing. Again, this is part of their Tom Zarek is the bad guy thing. And look, I'm not advocating for violent revolution, but also for what they are trying to do. Again, he's not actually wrong. Like you
Mm-hmm.
can certainly there's room for debate about whether or not there should have been a move to incapacitate the guy as opposed to kill him. But there was no option that wasn't we do something violent to this man right now.
Hmm.
It was really just a question of what form of violence. And you can condemn Zarek for that, for the level that he took it, but the violence was going to have to happen. This guy was about to blow what was going on, and you're not going to let him do that, and you're going to stop him with violence. That's literally the only way this was going to progress. But again, the show puts a wrench into Zarek's hands specifically because it wants us to think he's wrong.
Yes. We.
And depressingly, because here's the thing. Here's here's the big thing that actually pisses me off about this whole fucking thing. I thought and I called fucking midway season 1 when he started showing up again and being reasonable that like, oh, they're going to have him like go too far, do the thing that is, oh, nobody can defend that. This is as close as this episode at least gets to doing that. And again, while you can say he was more violent than was required, this was still a situation that required violence. Violence is definitely going to be done in aid of what they're doing, whether it's this guy or anybody else. He's correct about that. This is all the work they do to make Zarek the bad guy. Otherwise, they just assume we will do. They didn't even do the effort of having him go too far.
I mean, Starbuck in this episode does far worse than Zarek does.
Yes!
And while the episode has some level of judgment of her for it, she's still a hero within the episode. So, yeah. Like, yeah, Starbuck is demonstrably worse in this episode. And yet it treats Zarek as more the villain here, which is frustrating. And also, too, his point of, like, how revolutions happen is also correct. Of, like, revolutions do happen by cumulative points. Like, yes, you sort of, like, sell the rhetoric of, like, what you're about and what you're aiming for, but in terms of the moment by moment of how something like this actually happens, it is won or lost on many small, tiny things happening all around and sort of leading to whatever the end is. And he is absolutely fucking correct in that point.
Yeah.
So, yeah. No, again, the show has an opinion of Zarek that, I'm still... I don't necessarily agree with the methods he is taking, but certainly don't disagree with his point of view or his arguments or what the level, like he does not go too far in service of the goals that he is doing, which are understandable, even if I don't necessarily always agree with them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like, I think the simplest way this breaks down is I'm not necessarily at least with what's going on right now. I'm not necessarily pro Zarek. However, I still take issue with how much the narrative assumes an anti-Zarek stance by fucking default and does not really do much to justify that.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like, I don't even disagree with... I may disagree slightly with the mutineer method, at least at this point of where things have escalated to. Like, I think it's a little bit premature given stuff. But, like, his points that he made both last episode and the reasons for why they are doing this are... certainly ones that I agree with. Adama and Rosalind have both been shown to be overreaching and authoritarian and have led them down a wrong path, and also asking them to accept something that people like without any justification with the Cylons. So it's like, yeah, again, don't necessarily always agree with his methods here, but I don't necessarily think they're unreasonable methods, nor do I disagree with the reasons for them. So
yeah. No, this show has taken this episode as an opportunity to divide the characters into, for the purposes of this situation, the good guys and the bad guys, and it really does treat it as that black and white as we go forward. It really does. Basically, like anytime we see any character we recognize siding with Gata, it's just treated as like oh, they're bad now. Like fuck this, fuck you, Ron, fuck this show, keep going, get me through this.
There's one thing that this episode does to add a little bit of gray to that, but it's too little and not enough. We'll get there when we get there, though. Adama is in the CIC. Gata arrives as well, and they learn that, like, Ty's saying, like, the fleet's still hiked up on Zarek's anti-Cylon stuff. Hoshi notices that there's a ship that is appearing on Dratus, which is Zarek's ship. And also, it's worth mentioning that there are, numerous, discussions between Gata and Hoshi throughout this episode. Zero mention of their queerness. Now, obviously, I don't expect them to, given that it was relegated to the webisodes, but it is worth acknowledging that there's no reference to it. And at one point, too, later on, Hoshi is literally taken away at Gata's orders, and there's no reference to it. So,
And I was gonna say he also isn't bringing in a host. So like, so regardless of the romantic involvement, obviously they weren't close enough that Gata trusts him.
Yep. So,
So flush that shit down the toilet while we're at it. Great, awesome, thanks. Fuck you, Ron.
uh, but yes, basically Gata is trying to pull one over on Hoshi's like, oh, it might, I don't know. It might be a Dratus ghost that he tells to Adama and Tai.
I actually like the way he covers for this because I feel like, and in a lot of situations like this and narratives, oftentimes whoever the traitor in their midst is, especially if the audience already knows, because like if it's played as a twist on the audience, then they'll be seamless. But if the audience already knows, so often they like it feels like how is nobody going, dude? What's up with you? But he's actually really good at covering this.
He's like, oh, the equipment is sketchy as hell. We should run a full diagnostic, like Ty says, and things like that.
Yeah, like wait, we should do that. And he's clearly thought this through, and he has answers for most of what's going to be asked in terms of, well, is it this? Is like, oh, well, it could be this to direct the whole thing the way he wants, and it all flows the way a conversation in the CIC usually does. It's actually his part in this plot is well handled.
Yes. Gata actually thought things through. We then jump over to Colonial 1. Lee is trying to get the quorum in order. He's like saying, Zarek was taken into custody for agitating against a lawful order. And the silent FTL drives are essential if the Lee is going to move on. But as he's finishing that statement, Zarek comes on board and he says, don't look so surprised. Your father knows when he's holding a losing hand. So he's pretending that he was let go by Adama. And Zarek sort of takes over the quorum, much to Lee's chagrin.
Which I mean is a decent way to buy some time because while it's almost a certainty that Lee's going to go and try and confirm what the hell's going on, which we will see how that plays out, they're in the middle of a meeting. So he's not going to leave right now. So like that's again.
Which again goes to that point that I do like of like every second kind of matters here with that time code thing. So I think it kind of works for that element of it.
Again, I kept losing track of what the fuck time the previous was.
Well, that's a you problem, Vera, isn't it? Huh?
It's an everyone problem. I speak for the people. God damn it!
Well, revolutions are won that way, Vera. Love you.
Sorry, the voice crack.
All right. Well, we jump back over to Galactica. We have Anders, and he is sort of, shooting Pyramid. And Racetrack, I believe it is, comes in, and she starts reminiscing with him. I remember, Anders like, I can't believe I remember when winning the big game used to matter to me. And life in the colonies is like a dream now, Racetrack says, the further we get away from it. He's like, you remember when you and me were back at Joe's bar shooting pyramids? There's good times. I used to really think there was something between us. And I used to think when it didn't happen, I thought maybe it was just me. And Anders starts to respond to this, but then she goes, but now I'm thinking it's maybe some silent thing programming. I just can't let it go. And at this point, this is when two other mutineers sneak up behind Anders and they start beating him. They sort of choke him out, start beating him, and have to kind of
put a bag over his head. I was actually legit worried
that they were going to kill him.
That they were going to kill him because that just would have been perfect. Right after killing frickin' Laird, who was a character with 5 tons of potential, who was cashed in for about 2 ounces of screen time. I was then afraid, like, oh, great, you're going to kill one of the most consistently well-written characters of the whole show, because of fucking course you are. So, no, he's not dead, thankfully. But I was legitimately, like, my note was just, God damn it.
Yeah. But yeah, they do capture him. They are restrained sort of from going all the way with killing him, so they capture him. Uh, Back in the CIC, Hoshi notices that there's a fire warning and damage control to C deck. Gata basically seeds out there into the conversation like, well, if the wireless arrays goes down because of the fire, we might lose communications across the fleet. Um, and he sort of says, oh, it might be not be an accident. And so Adama sends Marines to prepare an evacuation of C deck. So.
Yep.
We then cut to Hot Dog and Starbuck talking, and Starbuck's basically giving Hot Dog shit for being a proud papa because Hot Dog is now putting like kids' toys in a bag for some reason. I
Like,
guess.
why does he have those?
Yeah, it's
Like,
odd.
why does he have those in the pilot's bunk area? For whatever,
Yeah,
man. What fucking whatever.
yeah. Starbuck's giving him shit and being like, you flacked half this fleet, whatever. And Hot Dog gives it back to her, which she just does not take well because she just knocks her cereal off. Um,
Yeah, like what the fuck is her problem? Like
yeah.
I understand people are treating her like shit right now because to some degree they might even be blaming her for the situation they're in because like, well, you fucking let us here.
Mm-hmm.
Like I get that, but like the hell?
Mm-hmm. Yep. So yeah, but after that, and after Hot Dog leaves, she sees that everyone is being evacuated, and Starbuck goes and questions this, like, since when do they put pilots in charge of damage control? Because a pilot is leading this. But when she like touches him, he sort of reacts aggressively at, is like, "Don't touch me! Nobody knows what you are anymore," and this causes her to get suspicious. So she is like, "Son of a bitch."
Yeah.
She then goes and sees mutineers grabbing weapons and like, say it was Admiral's orders, so she catches this. So she goes and grabs her own gun, and she tries calling up to CIC, but she gets Gata, who sort of feels the communications, and he hangs up on her immediately.
Yep.
So, yep.
Which also kind of shows that like Gata was probably the ideal inside man for this.
Yes, very much so. He can kind of do a lot of these sort of like making sure no one gets to communicate with anybody else. So.
Yep.
Lee, then also speaking of which, goes to call CIC from Colonial One, and Gata covers for this because Lee sort of goes like, "Any idea why Tom Zarek was released?" And Gata's like, I don't know. I'm sure your father has his reasons. Blindsided me too. I'll be sure your father knows you called when he gets back, even though he's right over Gata's shoulder. Um, but then when Lee hangs up, Zarek comes in. He's like, you don't seem too happy to see me. And Lee says, well, I'm glad you're out. My father overreached, and I hope you changed your mind on the FTL. And Zarek sort of says, well, problem is, Lee, you can't have it both ways. You can't honor your oath into your father because sometimes those two don't always mix. And he released me because he doesn't see civilian authority as a threat. And I think our democracy is about to end. Adama entertained the civilian infrastructure because of Roslin. And Lee says, no, he wouldn't do that. And again, Zarek rightly points out he did it before. And what excuse to give you when he refused to take your call, which sort of prompts Lee to head back to Galactica, which is exactly what Zarek wants. But again, Zarek's points, when he's being earnest in his points here, are ones that I don't disagree with.
Nope.
So, yep, yep. Also, I'm going to just at least say, if any of you listeners are hearing an ice cream truck in the background of my microphone, it's because there's an ice cream truck outside. There's nothing I can do about it. So if you're hearing da 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 da
I hadn't heard a
da
thing
da,
until you brought it up, but I still can't hear it now. I
it
think
annoys the
people
hell out of me. So,
I believe you, but I think people like really underestimate how thorough the noise filter on Zoom is at this point.
fair enough, fair enough. It just drives me up a wall. So I can hear it right now. So in case if anyone is hearing it, that's
But
why.
we don't care about you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I was doing it for other people, but fine. Um, Back in the CIC, Gata says he lost communications, that the fire is escalating, and damage control has no way to relay the fire information. So he's sort of again playing everybody. Lee then arrives on the Galactica, and is immediately taken hostage by mutineers. And he's saying you're making a big mistake. Do you really think you can make? And one of the mutineers says, "Do you really think you can make a deal with them?" Talking about the Cylons, they pull a gun on Lee, and they seemingly are about to shoot Lee, but then Starbuck arrives and shoots the guy who was about to kill Lee. Starts shooting some of the other people and pulls a Captain America and says, "I could do this all day." Who's next? And eventually, they allow Lee to leave with Starbuck. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So Starbuck is trigger happy. Um, we also then cut to Athena and Hilo with their daughter, and they start hearing gunfire. And Hilo says maybe you should take Hera down to daycare. But as soon as he goes to check on this, the mutineers storm his room, and they say they sort of take them all to the brig essentially. But we also get brought back the guy from the Pegasus, who was one of the ones who beat up Hilo and Anders. I think it was Anders. Way, way, way back when they went in and killed the guy who was sexually assaulting and torturing.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's who that was. I could tell like the camera was lingering on him. Like I'm clearly supposed to recognize this guy and I don't. That's who that was. Okay.
yeah, yeah. I recognized him before. I was like, oh, is that the same guy? And I didn't know if they were going to draw attention to him or if he was just going to be a background guy who just happened to be the same actor. But no, it was the same guy who, they basically like were friends of the sexual assault or torturer dude from the Pegasus. So,
Yep.
uh,
Thorn.
yep. And he clearly reiterates this fact by saying, I'm saving myself for your toaster wife. So he's gonna, yeah, look at the mutineers having villainous, terrible people with them, Again,
Yeah,
coding in that way.
it's almost like we want to paint them as bad as possible because like, oh look, they have a rapist with them. Like, yes, I agree that is a bad thing, but that is also a thing that is true because you chose to write it that way.
And
That
also worth saying,
rapists are not innate to revolution, believe it or not.
and also just worth noting, he worked on the Galactica up until this point, so he was
Yeah,
around. So certainly had been given some level of amnesty for his bullshit. Anyways, we then have Starbuck and Lee going through the corridors. Lee is sort of, Zarek played me, and they sort of say we can't do this alone. And then Starbuck goes and kisses Lee and says she's sort of hopped up on adrenaline. She's like, "Oh, we can count on us, you and me. Feels good to be alive, feeling right for the first time in weeks." So she's on an adrenaline high. So they start going. Yeah, I know. Vera is throwing her middle finger at the camera for audio listeners. So yeah.
just I fuck off, man.
Mm-hmm.
Just fuck off.
Yeah. Well, the president, they submit a big plan to go after the president because they don't know where she is. So they head out. Back on CIC, Ty is getting angry. You're sort of wondering what's going on with damage control, but then Hoshi notes that the carbon monoxide would be going through the roof if there was actually a fire there, and he's not seeing that. And so Adama, who's tired of being without any knowledge, sends one of the sort of younger crew members, I think Ensign Jaffe, to sort of run down there and get information and bring the information back. So
Yep.
this sort of concerns Gata, of course. We then quick have a scene between where Athena, Hilo, and Hera are all thrown in a cell. Obviously, rapist guy is creepy and says, "I'll see you soon."
Yep.
And then
Sam's there, confirmed alive, thank goodness.
yeah, Sam is there. Caprica 6 is there. Caprica 6 starts doing. It's like, oh, they're worried about our children. Our children represent everything they hate. It terrifies them. Our ability to like continue the Cylon race. Da 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 da.
Which, like, I don't want to make too big a thing out of this because, like, she's not wrong, but like something about the wording that they gave her bugged me because it bothers me that she talks about like her being pregnant in these terms like that means the Cylons can now reproduce, and I'm just like, does it? Is the show actually going to establish that it means that, or at least question whether or not it means that? Like, from the reason I don't want by explaining why I don't want to make a big thing, I'm going to make a bigger thing out of it. But the reason I don't want to make too big a thing out of it is because she is correct that people who hate Cylons will treat one Cylon being able to carry a child and be like, oh, they could breed like. She is right about that, but there's something about her wording in this that made me think that she thinks that too. That Cylons can just now
Oh, I
do
think she does.
this.
She sort of said it to Ty, I think like an episode, last episode when they were like getting the ultrasound, like, oh, it means we can reproduce, da da da. It's the savior of our race. Like she genuinely believes that.
Yeah, which
And I think the show
like
wants us to take that as read as well.
yeah, fuck no. Why would I take that as read? Like you have had to go out of your way. Like you even had her point out, we tried so long and this never worked and now it has. And like, but now you're talking about it like it's just a thing now. You need to establish that. I'm not going to take it as read. Everything that's gone on in the show up to this point means I shouldn't take it as read. Just because you're not dealing with it doesn't mean I forget what the fuck you did. Just like how I was wondering for ages why this show never fucking dealt with Nikki when it was implied for like a fucking half a season that his dad was a Cylon, and the way they deal with that is just going, oh, well, that wasn't his dad, which I fucking called and I knew was going to be the way they resolved that. But it's still bullshit because they waited so long to do it that they just had everybody in universe ignore the concept that another one besides Sharon had a kid, or they thought another one besides Sharon had a kid, and nobody fucking said anything because the writers knew he didn't matter, and so suddenly everyone in universe acts like he doesn't matter, but textually he should have mattered. Fuck you, Ron.
I think you should take a shot every time you say "fuck you, Ron." It'll be fun. Anyways, they do say that they can't kill the Cylons because they need them as a bargaining chip, especially you. Athena says to Sam because he is one of the final five, and he says, "Well, I don't have any grand wisdom I can offer." And Athena says, "Well, you might want to keep that to yourself." Makes you. She doesn't say this, but it makes him, more valuable if he sort of plays it that way.
Yeah.
Um, we then see Lee and Starbuck are sort of stuck on the chaos of the deck. We get a sort of like take as they sort of go through the deck, and we see all of the stuff going on, which was sort of little action beat there. But then back on the CIC, Jaffe comes in and reports that there is no fire and there's stuff going on. And this is when Gaeta takes the CIC hostage. He sort of has the Marines, pull their weapons on Adama and everyone else. Adama gets angry. He's like, what is this? And the Marines decide to start open firing. Gaeta stops this, says, hold your fire. Nobody fires without my order. But during all of this, Jaffe was killed.
Yeah. Which, again, in universe doesn't even track. Like, these are trained Marines, whether they're under Gaeta or Adama. So the idea that they're suddenly trigger happy because they're on the bad guy's side is just it's such contrived bullshit.
Yeah, it's just to be like, look at all the terrible things that they have done, and makes Adama's anger even more righteous in this scene, which he
Yeah,
didn't need
it's
even really.
yeah, like he can be angry because it's personal because he trusted Gaeta. Like
Yeah.
he has every reason to be angry. But it's fucking hack. This is
Mhm.
goddamn Bush League shit. And
Yeah.
I know you're better. If I didn't know you were better, this wouldn't piss me off.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, Gaeta says, I'm removing you from command on the charge of treason, but Adama's sort of stuck on like, you killed this boy, and he says, you swore an oath, and Gaeta says, well, what happened to your oath? 7 years I've done my job for what? To take orders from a Cylon, meaning Ty, let them, come in and network our ships. You are not the leader you were when we started. You're just a saleable man that has let his heart and his affection for a Cylon cloud his judgment. And then Adama sort of gives a speech, is like, I want you to understand this. If you do this, and he's talking to everybody, there'll be no forgiveness, no amnesty. This boy died honoring his uniform. You'll die for nothing. And Gaeta tells the sergeant of the guards to bring them down to the brig, both Adama and Ty, placing them under arrest.
Like Adama basically gives his Liam Neeson Taken speech. Like if you stop now, that'll be the end of it. But
Yeah.
but I will find you. I will kill you. Like he's just pulling that. He's promising them all that they're going to die.
Yeah. Starbuck and Lee go through the corridors a little bit, and they arrive at the Admiral's quarters, and they find the president there, and they sort of acknowledge that there should have been guards outside there, but not anymore. And they're in danger of losing the ship, and they can't get through the CIC, and it's even bigger than Galactica. Zarek wants the presidency. And, Rosalind says, "Okay, I'll do whatever it takes. We will not allow the Zarek to get the presidency, and I have an idea on how to address the fleet and get a wireless."
You skipped the most damning line in this
Mm.
entire episode. And because like when I was watching this in real time, I wasn't loving it, but the anger you've been hearing from me about this episode spawns from a line that was said in this scene that you skipped over. And that was the point where I was just fuck this entire thing. And it's the line that Roslyn uses to describe Zarek.
Always had dangerous ideas.
He always had dangerous ideas. Fuck you. What ideas? What were his dangerous ideas? That democracy shouldn't be overturned the instant it's inconvenienced for a military force. That we should actually honor the will of the voters and reflect the fact that maybe Rosalind, who has never actually won a vote, shouldn't be holding this power. What
That that
exactly?
that classism shouldn't exist anymore on us once we're in space.
What exactly are his dangerous ideas, Ron? Because I'm not even going to direct this at the character that you put these words into her mouth. I'm directing it at you. What are his dangerous ideas? And why are you just sweeping everything he's ever said, done, or stood for in the face of literal military coups and just sweeping it under the rug as dangerous ideas? Fuck you. This is the exact fucking rhetoric that the right uses to sweep aside notions of socialism, of communism, anything like, oh, those are dangerous ideas. Fuck you.
Hmm.
Fuck you, you fucking coward, that you would sweep away everything that has ever been affiliated with the revolutionary character that you put in here under the label of dangerous ideas, you goddamn coward.
Yep. Yep. Anyways, we then have Gata in charge of the CIC, and he gets everything secured. We get a quick little bit there. We then have Baltar's cult, barricading themselves in. Chief Tyrrell is there and sort of helping set this all up. And Baltar says to, the women that he usually is hanging out with, says, "I have no desire to leave you. I have to go. If they're coming for anyone, they're coming for me." And they say, "We can't protect you." And Chief comes over and says, "Your transfer will be here soon." And he says, "I want you to know we'll pray for your safe return," talking to his the cult, talking to him. Then both are asked Tyrell, like, why are you certain that it's an imperative that are you certain that it's an imperative I leave? And Tyrell's like points out, like, hangar deck's gone, CSE's gone, weapons are probably next. We should be getting out of here. So yeah, so there's that whole beat there. It's interesting here too because it's played like Balthar's not wrong, and there's a level of like he is probably caring about saving his own skin, but there is seemingly a little bit more sense of empathy rather than just sheer cowardice that it normally would have been from his character in earlier seasons, which I did find interesting here.
A little.
Yeah. It's played a little bit differently by the actor, and I think that's by James Callis, and I think that's interesting that there's a little bit of development there. If brought by the actor, by nothing else. Um, Anyways, we then have Rosalind, Lee, and Starbuck. They go to Baltar's cult. There's one woman who says, "You're not welcome here," but the chief sort of brings her in, and she has to see Baltar. Lee and Tyrrell start talking to each other briefly. It's like I just saw that heard that the admiral was just led away from CIC because I have people reporting for me from all over the ship. My guess is that they're bringing them to the brig, and we can't trust the ship's comms. And he says to Lee, "Get your father to secondary storage in 1 hour, and I'll get him off the ship." And Lee sort of asks, like, "Why are you doing this, Chief?" And he says, the old man deserves a better fate than what he'll get from them. Go find your father, Lee."
Yep. So, um, yeah, I just, I don't know, man. I'm tired of yelling. I feel like I'm not trying to cap the number of times I say fuck you, but I feel like I have exhausted how much I want to say it. And yeah,
I mean, there's nothing wrong with this scene.
no, it's fine.
I was gonna say, like, it's Chief being loyal to the old man despite
I'm
everything,
just
which I
saying
which I think is fine. Yeah.
at this point, I am drained. My anger has drained me. We've got however many minutes left, and the thing, it's whatever, man.
All
It's
right,
whatever.
all right. Well, I didn't mind this scene with the chief. Um, And Dom is being led away by the two Marines, and he sort of points out, just like, I remember your name, Stuart. On New Caprica, you put it on the line. And then the other soldier sort of says, screw the war stories. And Dom says, oh, big mouth, not much of a I remember you, not big mouth, not much of a soldier. It doesn't matter, though. There's going to be a reckoning. Live or die, how you act today is going to matter. And then Adama stops and turns and looks at the seemingly more amenable soldier and says, what's this going to be? I'll be damned if I'll be run off my ship. And during this, Ty, while everyone's distracted, takes a run at the other guy, and Adama and Ty basically get the guns away from the other folks. Shoot, I think one of them, and then Stuart, the one who's more amenable, he is taken hostage by them.
Yep, which kind of immediately goes against Obama's
Obama's.
fuck. I'm tired, man. Adama's big speech in the CIC of like, you will all face death for this because like he immediately is like, oh, well, we'll take this guy as a hostage because it's very important that we show that, oh, well, they will show mercy because these are the good guys, despite the fact that he threatened to kill literally every single one of them. And at this point, to me, just shows a lack of conviction in what the hell he said.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, over with Roslyn, she goes to see Baltar. And she's basically ask him to use his wireless. She says, well, there's a chance we can avoid bloodshed if I address the fleet and reassure them the silence mean no harm. And Balder's like, your faith and your oratory rhetoric aside, communication is dodgy down here. I don't have anything. She's like, I know you have a wireless. And one of Baltar's followers saying it's a trick. She's trying to take your wireless. And Baltar sort of sends her away, but he says she has a point. If you think you can convince the fleet, why can't you convince her? And she says, I was kind of in your sense of self-preservation. And Baltar sort of says, I'm so sick of your insinuations. I call your own allegiance to the scriptures of Pythia. How is that working out for you now? And Rosin says, if it makes you happy, maybe we're both frauds, and maybe this is our last chance to atone.
Mm-hmm.
So
Which circles back like, and this may or may not be the case, but like you remember how I think I actually repeatedly questioned why the hell are they letting him keep a wireless and broadcast when they know he's doing it?
mm,
Like why are they doing that? Oh, so it could be a plot point later. That's why. Cool.
mm,
Great. Awesome. Yeah.
yeah.
Let's
I
ignore what makes sense because we need the thing for logistics later. Cool. Awesome. Terrific. Great. Whatever.
Yeah. Well, we then have Ty and Adama sort of like make the decision, like they sort of ask like, oh, where were you taking us? And Stuart says the brig. And so they sort of realize like, oh, we might see some friendly faces there. So we will head that way to maybe rescue some folks. Back on the CIC, uh, they have a bunch of ships calling in, wanting to know why Galactica isn't responding. And so Gata puts them on the speaker, then calls Zarek. And Gata tells Zarek, I've taken command of Galactica. And Zarek sort of asks, is Adama still alive? And Garrick says, Gata, excuse me, Jesus Christ, says yes, and says you sound disappointed. And Zarek says, it's a loose end. I'm sure you have your reasons. The future of the fleet is at stake. Gata sort of says we can fine tune our rationalizations later. Right now, I'm trying to get everything set and in line. But then Roslyn comes over the PA. And she gives a speech which says, we have come to a crossroads, since assuming the presidency, we've only known fighting, and, adversity, and, there's nothing more difficult than agreeing to an alliance with the Cylons. The Cylons and humans have been at war for generations. We've faced unspeakable loss, both sides. Our options are running low. Former enemies may represent our last, perhaps only hope. To those who reject this alliance, reconsider and place your trust in those who have brought you this far. And the traitors would use your fears of the Cylons to sow distrust, but then Gata cuts off the communication.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a fine enough speech. I don't know if it would convince me. It's like, put your trust in those who brought you this far. You mean here, where we're at right fucking now? You know?
Yeah, like that.
It's not exactly a super convincing speech, to be honest.
The thing is, nobody has really given much of a particularly good reason why everyone, especially civilians, should accept and trust the presence of the Cylons. Basically, all we've been given is, and I'm not saying this is nothing, but like this is something that only matters at the decision making point, i.e., Adama, Roslin, etc. But like literally, the only argument we've been given is it improves our chances of survival. That's literally it. And on, and that's on the basis of like for this better jump gate take this not jump gate. Jesus, that was a good show. Better
FTL.
better FTL technology and whatnot. And like, okay, so that is a reason, but when it's your only reason, and the pushback from everyone else is, okay, you say that'll help us, but we're telling you we do not trust the people you're saying have to install it, so we do not feel it is worth it. No one has properly addressed that. The only answer has been, well, it's a military decision, fuck you.
Yeah.
And neither the show nor the characters have made a case why anybody should be siding with Rosalind and Adama on this, honestly.
And it's not even a very good emotional because there's two reasons that they push back against it. One is the lack of trust for understandable reasons, given what the Cylons fucking did. So they have no reason to trust these folks. And then B, there's the emotional, like, and again, understandable emotional, like these people genocided us. Like, fuck them. We do not trust them. And there is absolutely no, like, the goal of a politician should be able to sort of, play on and, direct emotions in a way that sort of feeds their goal. That's what a job of a politician in this sort of liberal style democracy is as, much as
Or
I
at the
don't.
very least to understand their constituents enough to realize why something isn't working.
Yes, and she
Like
just
just
doesn't make
because
that good
you're
of
in
an argument.
charge doesn't mean you get to say how everyone feels.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And she doesn't like meet them where they're at, I think is probably the best way to put it.
Yeah, no, she doesn't. And like I think okay, I think here's part of the problem. And this is kind of a snowball effect of the fact that the Cylons have increasingly just been treated like as humans, as any other group of humans,
Hmm.
which again was a massive part of my loss of interest in this show. But it's what happened. But an outcropping of that is that at this point, narratively, the way the writers are treating the Cylons, in terms of the narrative and certainly in terms of the overall ethics that are being presented, they seem to be coming at this from a position of, well, this is just a group of people that the civilians are prejudiced against. Therefore, the civilians are wrong. Whereas in universe, this doesn't, like, they're writing it like it's any group of people, but it's not. Even if you treat them as any group of people, the reality is in universe, every single Cylon was on board. This came up, actually, 255 brought this up in a comment when we talked about, the 1-6 that got like drowned in the sewage or whatever and held a grudge. Like, it is true that that specific one was not actively, killing people, but she was still identical and part of a collect, not a literal hive mind, but a collective intelligence, all of whom were in on it. There are no passive civilians in the Cylons. They don't exist. Narratively, they can't. That's not the way this race has been constructed. So when you treat them morally, the way that you would treat a group of people being judged collectively in the real world, it doesn't map because they aren't like that.
Hmm. Yay!
Yeah. So all the people who hate the Cylons are wrong because it's prejudice. Except no.
They're
Like
all they are all in agreement to commit a genocide.
these are
Yes.
literally the same people. These are literally the same people who genocided them and then oppressed New Capricorn. It's literally the same people. So no. No, they're not just prejudiced because bigotry and no. You create again, this is why I hate the fact that they're just written like people now. You created an interesting sci-fi situation and then never dealt with the actual implications of the sci-fi setting you fucking created.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, God. Why did he want to write this show? I mean that very sincerely. At this point, especially knowing that he didn't have a plan on where he was going with it, I do not understand what attracted him to want to do this project, given that he abandons almost everything that was unique about it from the first two seasons in order to do a bunch of other shit in the last two seasons that feels so disconnected. It feels like two different fucking shows. I don't understand what he thought he was going to do when he started, and I don't know why he abandoned all of it halfway through.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I think it's just where all the creative writing decisions led him that he didn't think through, you know?
Yeah.
Anyways, we have Starbuck and Lee going through. They couldn't get near the brig, but they do run into Adama and Ty. Starbuck sees that they have a prisoner, and she throws up her gun and goes to shoot them and says, "We don't take prisoners!" Adama tells him to get out of here, the prisoner, and Starbuck, as he's running away, goes to try and shoot him, but Adama stops her, and she says, "They aren't your men anymore. They are the enemy."
Which you could make an argument for, but to your earlier point, if we're gonna compare like who the bad guys and the good guys are, Zarek killed somebody who was literally about to jam up their entire thing.
Yes, and it didn't even seem
St-
like he was intending to kill him. Like it
yeah,
was seemed like I want to knock him out, and it did lead to his death. But
intent was debatable, but let's even throw that out. Even if he meant to kill him, this was somebody whose presence and actions could wreck the entire thing before it started. Starbuck tried to shoot a fleeing unarmed person in the back.
I think that's a war crime. I'm fairly sure
It
that's
is
a
a
word.
war crime.
So
It
yeah,
is. It literally is. And but like this was the point. No, it's slightly later that I wrote this down. But like this was around the time that I was formulating the idea like they're just treating one side as objectively right, therefore their actions are justified, and the other side is objectively wrong, therefore their actions are not justified. And it's so unexamined. There is just so little thought and introspection that went into this.
mm-hmm. Yep. Well, we have Roslin and Baltar waiting for Adama and everyone to arrive on for their ship, and they're kind of talking, and they're talking about Gata, and Ron's like, Gata, who would have thought? You probably knew him better than anyone. And Baltar's like, well, obviously his loyalties were divided back even when he worked for me. Seems we both made bad choices when it came to our presidential aides de camp. Which,
Aide
you
de
know,
camp.
aides de camp, yes. Anyways, it is like, we're not so different, you and I, which I think is a slightly better earned between these two characters in an interesting way than is typical. So I do at least appreciate that element of things.
I
Uh,
guess.
Adama and the group are heading go down to meet where everyone is planning to meet for the raptor that Tyrell has. And there's basically a confrontation where they're talking about going down to meet Tyrell, and Lee says, well, he's one of yours to Ty. And Ty's like, you got a problem? And he's like, yeah, I got a problem. Yeah, your people annihilated my race. Want to know why Zarek has so much influence? He's right. We can exchange lofty words about an alliance, but if this is what survival has come to, Dama says, it's all we've got. Calm down. And Lee says, it's all they left us with.
This is so token.
Yes, that's what I was alluding to earlier. It's too little, too late in terms of trying to gray up Zarek's point of view.
Like especially since Lee has already definitively chosen a side, he's not arguing in favor of Zarek. He's just going, well, he's right, but we gotta kill him now anyway. Is basically what he's saying. It is pointless and hollow and feels like a fucking band-aid for the fact that they got 3/4 of the way into the script and realized he kind of has a point, doesn't he? Well, I guess somebody should say that, and then we'll move on and hope the audience goes with it. I didn't.
Mm-hmm. Well, we have Roslin and Baltar waiting again, with Tyrell waiting with them. Baltar calls Gata up at CSE. It's like, what do you? And Gata's like, what do you want? He's like, I want you to stop this. This is madness. This doesn't become you, treason. I know you, Felix. You're a good and honorable man. Do the right thing. Your failings, and Gaeta's like, my failings. And then Baltar sort of alludes to our secret sealed with a special pen, which I think is meant to allude to the stuff from Face of the Enemy. I'm not
I
100%
don't
sure.
know.
I'm
I don't
unsure
know.
what that's stealing to. And Baltar says, if you're hungry for redemption, this is not the way. So,
This
Gaeta.
was the point that I wrote down. They're just treating one side as objectively wrong.
Mhm.
Because just listening to the way Baltar's talking to him, he's not really appealing to his humanity. He's not making an argument. He's just saying, like, oh, do the right thing. Because obviously, this is innately the wrong thing.
Mhm. Yep. Yep. Well, the Raptor arrives at the Galactica. Tyrole's ship is there, and Roslin and crew are there, and Adama and everyone else arrive. And Adama says, "Good to see you, Mr. Tyrol. This is a trash chute that they're on, and Tyrol had sort of like set it back up for this so they could get them out of there." Adama and Roslin kiss, and everyone sort of like watches awkwardly at them kissing together. And she says, "I'm here because I don't want you to worry about me, and I know what you have to do." Marines start coming their way. And so they close off the room to sort of give them some time. And Adama says, the Colonel and I'll make sure the President's Raptor gets out of here safely. So Baltar and Rosalind leave to head out on the Raptor. Starbuck and Lee leave to go deeper into Galactica to sort of deal with stuff there. And then Ty and Adama stay behind to do a one last stand as the Marines start cutting into the room that they're in. We jump up to the CIC. Gaeta sort of starts to see the ship going away and sort of is asked what his orders are. And he says to arm all weapons, engage, target, and destroy. And then we jump back down to Ty and Adama. And Ty says, well, you could have gone over with her, Bill. And Adama says, I couldn't have lived with it. And Adama says to Ty, it's been an honor to have served with you, my friend. And then they start firing at the Marines who have broken in, and the Marines throw a grenade into the hatch, leading us to a to be continued.
Woo!
I did like the Ty moment where it said, it's been an honor to serve with you, my friend. So that's a nice little beat, but
Sure, whatever.
yeah. Yeah.
That's I mean, like that's a line that is good if you care.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a similar line in Ghostbusters that I fucking love because I love those characters to death,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't care.
Fair enough.
I don't care. So
Well,
that
yep. Well, that is the episode. I'm not going to do a spoiler minute because we'll deal with most of the fallout right next episode. So, what did you think?
fuck this show. Man, like you keep telling me, oh, we're about to hit the
Well,
stretch of
this
the
is
good
the
stuff.
yeah.
I don't believe you anymore. I don't think there's a good part. I don't believe you. I think you
There's
made
one
up the entire
episode. There's
I
one.
think you made up no, I think you made up the entire thing of having written a college thesis. I think you've been yanking my chain since the beginning. I think you know this show's shit and you're pretending it isn't just to drive me nuts.
Yeah, that's true. I think so. Yeah. No, let me put it this way. Not the next episode, the episode after the next episode. Just that episode. Like it may end up being shit and my memory's bad, but just for me, not next episode, episode after next, just try to come in with a fresh mind on it. For me. Just one episode. One episode. I asked for one episode. The rest you
I
can
will
all yell
look.
at.
I make no promises. I am beaten down and my spirit is broken. This show broke me. You win, Ron, I guess. I will try. Obviously, like next week's it's the direct continuation of this. I'm still not gonna care. The one after that, for you, because against all odds, I love you. I will try. Zero promises. Zero goddamn promises, but I will try.
All right, I appreciate it. And if it ends up being shit, fair enough. But please, that's all I ask. That's all I ask. All right, yes, my thoughts on this episode. To be the one who has some spirit that hasn't been totally and completely beaten. It's a fine episode. Like I agree with you. Like the Zarek, the fact that they just treat it all as just them being evil is frustrating and angering and disappointing, especially considering I remember there being a little bit more nuance to it, but no, there isn't, and it's frustrating and disappointing to see. So yeah.
Yeah. And like the thing is, it's not even that I expect every show that I watch to deal with especially like complex and nuanced and like, ooh, consider all the sides to something like fuck, Farscape doesn't do that. It has two different fascist alien races in it. No real complications. But that's the thing. This show came in being like, oh, we're going to deal with all the messiness that those other shows are scared to do. And we're going to do, and then they just fucking chicken out on it.
Mhm.
Like, I'm angry at this show because it thinks it's better than it is. It thinks it's at a higher level. It thinks it's more thoughtful, and it's not. If it was schlock, I wouldn't care. But it doesn't think it's schlock. And to be fair, when it's actually good, it's definitely not schlock. So between knowing that it can be better than this and feeling like the show thinks it is consistently better than this, when in reality it is rarely better than this, just it's one of those things that really amps up the anger. It's the difference between seeing like just kind of a trash movie that was a bit of fun and a trash movie that thinks it's profound. The latter is just far more likely to piss me off because like you have delusions of grandeur and you made me deal with that on top of your stuff being shit.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I don't disagree. I'll last. Well, with all that said, on that note, stuff time.
Stuff!
What a joyous episode. Thank you, listeners.
You can find my stuff by looking for Council of Geeks. Patreon pays the bills and enables me to do this as my living. I have started releasing more Patreon exclusive projects. I am doing a thing of releasing 2 videos a week talking about my top 100 rated movies on my Letterboxd account. The order is completely randomized. Some of these I do not remember that well, so I have to try and remember why did I rate that highly. But they're short videos, 500 words or less. It just gives me a chance to talk about things that otherwise I might have no occasion to talk about. That is going up as a Patreon and YouTube member exclusive. Um, and that is available to anyone at any level of support. And of course, at higher ends, you can commission me to review stuff, whether it's stuff that you think I love or just because you love hearing me suffer. Whatever, whatever floats your boat. I know I'm pushing the Patreon a little harder right now. I don't know. I have a gut instinct that is telling me my YouTube's about to dip again. So
Yeah, yeah.
maybe I'm wrong. That'd be lovely. But the main thing that does support is indeed the Council of Geeks YouTube channel. New videos every Saturday. The one going up after this comes out. No, I don't know what's coming up after this, but the most recent one out, unless I've changed my schedule, is a video talking about how the body and sort of face and build expectations of our movie stars have shifted over time, and how we used to have movies starring people who actually look like someone you'd bump into on the street as everyman protagonists. And now our everyman protagonists are perfectly buff people with chiseled jaws and perfect teeth, and they're apparently an everyman because you put glasses on them.
The movie you should talk about that with is fucking Crime 101. Because okay, it's not a bad movie. Crime 101, it's like a, it's a decently good like crime thriller film, right? But the whole thing of it is it stars Chris Hemsworth, and he is a guy like doing like perfectly planned robberies, but he can't talk to women. He doesn't know how to talk to women and is kind of nervous around them. Like, you're fucking Chris Hemsworth. Did I say Liam Hemsworth? I meant Chris Hemsworth. You're fucking Chris Hemsworth. Like, come on, like fully fucking buff. And it's like odd to me that he's sort of like, I don't know how to talk to girls. This is a bit weird for me. And I'm like, look, I'm not saying like big buff dudes like may not get nervous around women, but the way it's portrayed in that movie, I'm like, absolutely no way was this written for Chris Hemsworth. And to me, it was written for an everyman looking guy. And then they realized, oh, we can cast Chris Hemsworth. So they did, when he is Again, not a bad actor, but deeply miscast in that role. So
I
yeah,
mean, I'm not gonna. I've already shot this. I'm in the process of editing it.
yeah.
So appreciate the recommendation. It's not going in because I'd have to watch the movie and I don't wanna. But
It's
some
not a bad movie. He's just and Chris Hemsworth isn't a bad actor in it. It's just he is miscast for the type of guy that he is. So
I've got a handful of direct comparisons that I think make my point a little bit more quickly and cleanly.
fair enough.
Such as Highlander in 1986 starred Christopher Lambert. Highlander remake is starring Henry Cavill. Straw Dogs starred Dustin Hoffman. Its remake starred James Marsden. Like,
Mm.
yeah, something's happened. And yes, I'm not, the entire video is not just me making comparatives. I do actually have some theories as to why the shift has happened and have some additional thoughts that I think are often left out of that conversation when it comes up. But that should be the most recent video that is out on the main channel. There's also the Break Room of Geeks. The only stuff currently being released that I am following and reviewing episodes of is Game Changer. Other than that, it is whatever I have watched, listened to, read, or played lately. I have not played a video game in a while. I have been too buried in damn work.
Me as
Um,
well. So
but that's the Council of Geeks break room. I'm also on Blue Sky, posting not much. But that's the geeky stuff. There's also the spicy stuff. And I'm too exhausted by this fucking show. And like, you know the bit. You, I've done the bit, you know the
also the
bit.
spicy stuff. I was waiting.
You look for Vera Wild. Wild spelled WYLDE. You can find increasingly spicy content on YouTube,
YouTube.
TikTok. If you're looking for some more of my long form POV roleplay stuff, there's more of it available.
Well, there you go. Your annoyance when I yelled YouTube was so palpable. Hello, interwebs. You can find me at Jesse Gender on YouTube.com or on
Gender!
business style stuff. The Starfleet Academy video will definitively be out because finally the fucking time. The fucking timer has run out on the goddamn copyright claims. Fucking annoys the shit out of me. So that'll be goddamn out by the time you hear that. Jesse Gender After Dark news, reviews, reactions. I'm doing a bunch of random stuff on there. You can check out. I will be reviewing fairly soon. It's coming out in a couple weeks after this. Star Trek: Strange New Worlds season 4. So yeah,
Good
look out for
luck! I am not
yeah,
watching it!
yeah. I will let you know if it is worth watching. But yeah, the reviews for that will be up soon. And then I am also, since we're talking about big projects, I am also on 2 podcasts that you can listen to besides this one. One is the Cast of Kings podcast, which is the House of the Dragon podcast that I do with the wonderful Kim Renthro, the author of the unofficial guide to the Game of Thrones universe. Check us out there. You can find that at Decoding TV here on YouTube, and then also if you just look Cast of Kings on wherever podcast platforms you're looking for. And then we have also started I have started a brand new podcast called Starter Trek with none other than Tawny Newsome of Star Trek Lower Decks and Starfleet Academy, and also appeared in a good episode of Strange New Worlds fame. And yeah, she is basically taking her friend Andrew T along for the ride of watching Star Trek for the first time. He is watching for the first time, and she is sort of giving him out of context episodes, so he is bewildered and baffled by what he is watching. And I am there to be the actually you got this piece of weird canon wrong person, and also produce the show. So check that out. It should be a lot of fun. You can look that up on Starter Trek here on YouTube. It is also on all of your podcast platforms, so check that out. It should be a lot of fun. We're recording our first episode tomorrow, actually, as of this recording, so it should be out by the time you hear this. I'm on Blue Sky. I'm on Instagram. Please support me on Patreon. That helps me pay my bills. But beyond all of that, that's everything I got. And anything else, Avira.
Nah.
Alrighty, with all that said, I hope you all, my friends, live long and prosper.
Be seeing you.